sensitivity about that sort of thing. And when he lost the presidential election to Mr. Ahmadinejad, that was partially because people did not view him as positively as in the past. After he lost to Mr. Ahmadinejad 6 years ago, he was extremely hostile towards the new Iranian president, and many religious figures and politicians felt that that had sort of clouded his judgment. So he began losing his position among politicians and senior officials as well.
In South Sudan, 51 soldiers have been killed in fighting between the South Sudanese army and forces loyal to a rebel leader. South Sudan voted in January to secede from the north, but violence has flared in multiple locations across the south in the last 2 weeks. It underscores the challenges the region faces before it declares independence on July the 9th. Hundreds of people have taken to the streets of Abidjan in Côte d'Ivoire. Some were protesting against the killing of 7 women who were shot by soldiers during a march last week. Others were demonstrating against the disputed leader Laurent Gbagbo. Nearly 500,000 people have been uprooted by the political violence in Côte d'Ivoire. That's according to the International Organization for Migration. Antonio Guterres is the UN High Commissioner. Speaking to AlJazeera earlier, he described the extent of the problem.
We have already 70,000 people in Liberia, and again Liberia has been extremely generous hosting them, but this, as you can imagine, represents a huge burden for a country that is in itself in a process of transition and peace building. The indications we have from Côte d'Ivoire are that more and more people are displaced. In the last few days, 300,000 people displaced inside the country, and that the level of suffering that these populations are enduring is absolutely appalling. Unfortunately, because obviously the Libyan crisis has occupied the center of the attentions of the international community, there has been not enough efforts and not enough commitment to support the Ivorian people in this very tragic situation. And I also appeal this crisis not to be forgotten and international solidarity to be expressed to the Ivorian people in this absolutely terrible moment.
Women at an evacuation camp on the Tunisian border with Libya have been marking International Women's Day. Some of them are from sub-Saharan Africa and have been at the UN-led camp for 11 days. They're asking for more help from the international community. Aid workers say that more than 100,000 have now been repatriated and evacuated from Libya. Well, as we just mentioned, it is International Women's Day, a celebration of the economic, political and social achievements of women. Melissa Chan has been to meet a software engineer in China who's achieved great things in a traditionally male-dominated industry.
Welcome to Baidu, the reigning champion of online search services in China, offering basic search, but also picture searches, video, audio, news, maps. There's social networking, shopping, online dating, a universe of internet products. The company emulates Silicon Valley culture, and it is in these spaces you'll see some of the brightest, most innovative workers in the country. One of the top engineers is a woman, Wang Menqiu.
I'm in charge of the major search services and developments. The latest technology we're working on is a parallel to cloud computing called frame computing, meant to be an internet-based platform to process information to provide a faster experience for the user.
Menqiu considers Google a competitor and believes Baidu succeeds because it focuses on the basics. She holds a unique position, a female leader in a conventionally male-dominated discipline. The 35-year-old graduated from prestigious Peking University, worked as a software engineer in California, but decided to return to China and joined Baidu in 2002. She argues that it's only at places such as Baidu, innovative and forward-thinking, that a woman would have the opportunity to come this far. The catch is, the chance is there, but will you and can you take it?
Women made up a quarter of my class at university. I know our class fared especially well, but I know other groups where the women didn't end up sticking to engineering. It's a tough discipline that requires constantly keeping up to date, and social pressures and expectations on women are such that many end up doing something much easier.
In China, like many places around the world, a husband's career is still seen as more important than the wife's. Menqiu acknowledges she's lucky for having a supportive husband, but admits that the long hours required of Baidu's research and development team deters many women. Mao Zedong once said that women hold up half the sky, but at many companies in China, that's not necessarily the case. What Baidu shows us is that of all places where women can find opportunity in China, it's in the fast-paced tech sector. Melissa Chan, Al Jazeera, Beijing.
You're watching Al Jazeera. I'm Lauren Taylor with the stories making the headlines. There are reports that Gaddafi's tanks and warplanes are hitting several towns in Libya. These are some of the latest pictures from Bin Jawad. Rebels say that they're having to deal with aerial bombardment and have sustained serious injuries. A doctor in Ras Lanuf has told Al Jazeera that they're severely under-resourced and have to stop treating people if the victims keep pouring in. The head of Libya's opposition National Council says the Libyan leader must stop the bombing and leave the country within 72 hours. However, a different spokesman for the council has denied that any negotiations were taking place.
Our demands are as clear as the revolution. We are not negotiating at all. We have appealed to the United Nations to impose a no-fly zone in Libya to protect our families and to prevent any aircraft attacks like the ones you are hearing about.
Clashes have broken out between Muslims and Christian Copts in the Egyptian capital. The country's Coptic minority has been protesting against discrimination by Egypt's Muslim majority. And in Cairo's Tahrir Square, hundreds of Egyptian women held a rally calling for equal rights and an end to sexual harassment. In Côte d'Ivoire, hundreds of people have been protesting against the killing of 7 women last week. The women were shot by soldiers while demonstrating against the disputed President Laurent Gbagbo. In South Sudan, 51 soldiers have been killed in fighting between government troops and forces loyal to a rebel leader. South Sudan voted in January to secede from the north, but violence has flared in multiple locations across the south in the last 2 weeks. Police in Pakistan have arrested a man over a bomb blast that's killed at least 25 people. The explosion happened in the eastern city of Faisalabad in a neighbourhood full of government buildings. More than 150 people were injured. Officials say the man arrested may also have links to a 2009 attack on the Sri Lankan cricket team. Former Iranian President Akbar Hashemi Rafsanjani has lost his position as head of the powerful state clerical body which chooses Iran's supreme leader. Rafsanjani has been accused of being too close to the reformist opposition. He'd been head of the 86-member Assembly of Experts since 2007. Those were the headlines here on Al Jazeera. Coming up next, it's Riz Khan Live, so do stay with us for that if you can. Thanks for watching.